some things you shouldn't do when it comes to horse camping. Having been camping for 9 months now, I feel like I have learned the etiquette and all of those things. But surprisingly, a lot of equestrians do them. So in this video, I wanted to share some unspoken rules of horse camping. Number 1, starting out with probably the most evident rule, yet so many people ignore, and it's probably my biggest pet peeve, is if you're horse camping, make sure you clean up after your horse. Like, you clean up the stall or the corral or the pen before you leave. So when the next people come in, they have a nice clean pen. So this seems like common sense, but you would be surprised how many people don't do this and they just leave manure for the next person to clean up. It is so annoying. So let's say we travel for a few hours to get to a campground. Traveling with horses is tiring just in general. And when you roll up into the campground, you want to be done. And then to see like, okay, well now I have this whole other thing I need to do. I need to go and clean out the manure from the pens. The horses need to stay on the trailer another 20 minutes and they're already annoyed. And a thing for me is that could potentially be dangerous for other horses. Like, that's how parasites get passed on, or you don't know if the horse before you there was sick. And so it's just important to clean up your horse's manure. Oftentimes campgrounds will have a designated place you can put manure, and it's important to make sure you bring a pitchfork with you. A next major rule when it comes to horse camping is not leaving your horse unattended for long periods of time. What I mean by this is, let's say you get to a state park campground early in the morning, you drop your horse off, and then you're just gone up into the evening, the rest of the day. You don't know what's going on with your horse. You don't know if they have food or water. You don't know who's around your horse. Like, that's the biggest thing to me, is like, I just don't trust people around my horses. Anyway, but to me, that is number 1, inconsiderate of your animal, inconsiderate of others. And the fact of the matter is, okay, maybe sometimes you do want to go and drop your horse off and explore. If that's the case, staying at a private campground is a much better option for that, because you can usually arrange for your horse to be checked up on, or it's kind of expected that you will be leaving and going. But when you're at state park campgrounds or federal campgrounds, there's no one else there like monitoring your horse. And so you don't know what could happen. And we were actually at a campground where someone did this. They just came in, they left their horse for like a full day and into the night, like late into the night. And the horse didn't have food the entire day. The horse didn't have water the entire day. And so at that point, even though I don't think you should feed other people's animals, like, I gave them some hay and some water because that horse had been in the stall all day. No one had come to take care of it. Just don't be that person. Real quick, I want to mention that we have an Etsy store geared towards equestrians. So we have a bunch of like t-shirts and sweatshirts on there that's all about horses, whether you want like a funny kind of quirky shirt, or I have a lot of Bible verse shirts with horse stuff. So you can check that out. The link is in the description, and it's also a great way to support our channel. For my next point, if there's only one spigot in the campground, don't leave your hose hooked up to it. So oftentimes campgrounds will be kind of centralized around the water spigot. And if you have a hose hooked up to it and there's other campers there, that means every time they want water, they have to undo your hose, fill up their water, and then redo it. And it's just a big hassle, and it's just inconsiderate to the other campers there. I would say it's fine to stretch out your hose and run it from the spigot to your campsite, but make sure you undo it when you're done with it. Or usually campers are really nice and you can, talk to each other, come to agreement where the hose for that time being just becomes the community hose and anyone can use it. So that's usually what we do, so it doesn't have to be a hassle. We have a really nice 100-foot hose, and it makes it easier on other campers to use our hose. So oftentimes if we're going to hook up, we're going to offer to the other campers to use the hose. Unfortunately, equestrians kind of have a reputation for being snooty and rude, and the reason for this is they tend to hold non-horse campers to the same standard they would hold a horse camper. Like, they expect someone who doesn't know anything about horses to know how to interact around them, to know not to rev their engine or to come up to the horse. And in reality, at a lot of campgrounds, the horse camping is actually mixed in with the other camping. And so sometimes we'll be at campgrounds and we'll have our horses, and then we're just in the middle of like normal campers, tent campers, RV campers, and no one else really understands anything about horses. To be rude or to expect them to understand how to act around the horses, that's just not conducive. And horses are a novelty to most people. They're not around them all the time. So of course they want to see them and look at them. Of course they're not going to know what's going to set the horse off or not. And the fact of the matter is, if your horse can't handle being around other people who may not know how to be around them, maybe your horse shouldn't be horse camping at this point. But one thing I've started doing at campgrounds is if there's other people or kids around, I always make sure I take one of my horses out, and it's usually Tucker because he's well behaved. I'll take Tucker out, I'll let them touch him and pet him and feed him treats and everything, so they get to interact with the horse and see the horse. And then in that time frame, I can also explain to them, just things about horses that they need to know if they're going to be around them. Like, for example, our young horse, he has big feet, he's a little mouthy, he doesn't always know where his feet are. So I tell them, I'm like, he tends to nip and he'll want to put his mouth on you. And that way they know, okay, while you shouldn't probably be coming up to a stranger's horse, people are going to do it anyway, but at least they know this horse may bite your shirt or something like that. And this actually extends to the trail as well. Even though trail etiquette is to always yield to horses, so that means like bikers and hikers yield to horses, people do not know that, and they will not yield to the horseback riders. If it's me and I see someone coming, I usually just pull my horses off to the side and let them pass. And that saves yourself from trouble or a run-in or anything like that, because like I said, people just don't know. They don't know how to react or interact with horses. You'll have runners all the time just come running up behind the horses, not understanding that a horse could kick or anything like that. We were at a campground, mind you, wide trail. I ran into this woman 3 times on the same day, where she would just come running, flying up behind the horses, and the horses were good, but they would kind of like turn to see what it was, and it would freak her out a little bit, and every single time she would just go, "Oh, sorry, I don't know the trail etiquette." And she had her headphones in so she couldn't hear me, but I wanted to be like, let me tell you what the trail etiquette is real quick so you stop doing this, because obviously it's now happened 3 times, and it's the same reaction every time. There's other people on the trail. You need to be careful. You can't hold non-horse people to the same standard. This next point is a good thing to know just in general if you're going horse camping. Most horse campgrounds are first come, first serve, which means the first people there get the pick of their spots, and sometimes horse campgrounds will have limited amount of corrals or space, and so the first people there get access to those corrals, okay? Unfortunately, there's some people who, even if they are last come, they still expect a corral for their horse or something for their horse. When in reality, that's not how that works. And if you're going to make a big deal about it and you're going to go get the park ranger will reaffirm the fact that it's first come, first serve. These people were here first, you were here last. You can't expect a corral. So in that regard, if you want to first come, first serve, I would, first of all, arrive at campgrounds early. Second of all, always have a backup containment option for your horse. Like, we have so many different options. We have our electric tape fence, we have portable panels, and we have a high line. So if for some reason we get to a campground late and there aren't corrals, we have quite a few options on still how to secure our horse until the next morning. So some things are just inevitable with horses, especially if it rains and your horse is walking and turning up the ground, or they may turn up the ground in their stall. That's normal. But to work your horse in your campsite where, there has been construction done to the campsite. Usually the campsite has been leveled, footing has been put down, and everything like that. So usually campsites don't want you working your horse in your campsite. And what I mean by that is they don't want you like lunging them or trotting or cantering through the campsite, just to keep the campsites in good order. And if you're like me, I have a young horse and he needs to be worked sometimes. Usually, I'll take him out and just work him on the ground to burn his energy. So what I usually do is I will go down the trail, or I will find another open flat spot that hasn't been constructed in any way to work my horses. So if that's the same thing for you, and let's say you show up to camp, you want to burn some of your horse's energy before you go out on the trails, make sure you find not a campsite to work your horse in, just so the ground doesn't get torn up. All right, I feel like I'm going to get a lot of beef for this next point, but it is something I've been wanting to say for a long time to the horse community. Here it goes. Don't just let your dog run around wild at the campground. Don't just let him run off the leash. I feel the people screaming at me already, and, I get it. Your dog wants to be outside, they want to adventure and explore, and they're used to being off the leash at the farm. I get that. But you have to consider the other campers. So, for example, we've been at campgrounds where other dogs have come into our site, they've peed all over our stuff, or they just become a nuisance to where we can't leave things out that we would usually leave because there's a dog out there. And then we have a dog. We have to constantly be watching our back because we don't know how this other random dog is gonna react to our dog, then I'm nervous to bring my dog outside. It just creates kind of like a little bit of chaos. You don't know how this dog's going to react to your horse, or now you feel like you have to watch your horse to make sure it doesn't terrorize the dog. Because, no offense, Ruach, our horse, he's sweet, but if a dog gets in his pen, he's going to want to play with them, and that may not end up how you want it to end up. And so it's just better to put your dogs on a leash in the campground. I know that sometimes people will go out on the trail and then they'll let their dog off and the dog will just ride with the horses. That's fine. But I think if you are in the campground and people are just having a nice, peaceful, quiet time, keep your dog on a leash so they don't have to deal with your dog. It's like letting your child run around and expecting other people to watch your child. And another point to this, it is usually noted that all dogs should be leashed in the campground. And so if your dog is off the leash and something happens, guess who's liable? You. So I want to know your pet peeves or the unspoken rules of horse camping that I may have missed. Be sure to comment down below what you think, and I would love to read them or even do another video on this and share those pet peeves. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.